Good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
Let me just say a few words regarding first of all, our recovery from COVID-19. After one of the longest and most painful and most difficult times we've gone through, we're finally on our way to beating the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is great news for our entire community as we work together on a path to recovery. As vaccines are distributed and we prepare to move past COVID, we must work together to create a strong recovery and build a better future for everyone in Roanoke and across the Commonwealth. We've made great progress thanks to the Biden administration, Governor Northam, these great legislators that are standing right here. We've made great strides, and all of our local volunteers working to get shots in arms. And by the way, that reminds me that if you haven't yet, go get that vaccine. Go get that shot. It's ready, available, and that's our key to brighter days, is get that shot. Democrats in the General Assembly have passed laws to help Virginia weather the pandemic and make sure they get the help they need. The Biden administration has also delivered crucial economic relief, which has helped carry our communities through this most difficult time. The American Rescue Plan that President Biden and Democrats in Congress passed into law has been transformative. Millions of Virginians got direct checks to help them pay rent, pay the bills, and afford health care. And I can't tell you when I travel throughout this city how much people are appreciative of that support that they're getting now to stay in their homes, to make things happen, to get jobs, and really to pay the bills, and most importantly, to afford health care. It's just a shot in the arm, and I see people all across this city and valley who are so appreciative of what went on. Small businesses got loans so they can keep their lights on and pay their employees, which is so critically important. It sped up vaccinations to help our communities return to normal faster. And as mayor, I know how important this relief has been. State and local aid funds from the American Rescue Plan will help us open schools safely. Just not open schools, but make sure it's done safely. And boost essential community programs to help Virginia get back on track. And that's what we have to do. And I'm just so proud of what's going on. I'm proud of our legislators who made things happen in this state, especially our Democratic legislators. I'm pleased and thank you. We have two here today that will be speaking to you later, but they've done a great thing for us and for this city and this Commonwealth. But the Virginia Republicans nominee for governor, Glenn Youngkin, unfortunately, is opposed to the American Rescue Plan. I mean, that's uncomfortable. How can you do that? And the vital relief it delivers to this city and Virginians across the Commonwealth. And it shows us by his opposition who he really is. This is a candidate who stood in front of struggling Virginians and said that critical relief they needed was absolutely wrong. Let me say that again, that it was absolutely wrong. This is a candidate who called this relief unnecessary. Was it unnecessary to put money in the pockets of working families struggling through this pandemic? Was it unnecessary to help small businesses right here in Roanoke? Was it unnecessary to keep getting shots in arms to speed up our fight against COVID-19? Glenn Youngkin's decision to oppose this essential relief has shown us exactly who he is, a far-right Trump supporter who cannot be trusted to lead Virginia. Our next governor must be someone who is prepared to lead Virginia and build a better future for communities all across the Commonwealth. Glenn Youngkin is not that leader. And as we continue to fight against COVID-19 and work together to keep Virginia moving forward, we cannot let Glenn Youngkin and the Virginia GOP drag us backwards with their extreme agenda. We're moving forward now. We want to continue to move forward and not turn around and not be dragged back into where we were. The last 4 years, it was a struggle to get through, but because of our legislators, because of their boldness and courageous, we made it through, and we're seeing better times now. So thank you, and I'm pleased to stand here today. Now, am I going to introduce, well, it's an honor for me to introduce our state senator. I think, without a doubt, and I've said this, he's the best senator in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And he's been with us, led us through the tough times, led us through the valley. And as we come out of this, I'm so appreciative that he's a part of this city, this valley, and he represents us well. So I'm proud to bring forward the senator from the New River Valley, Roanoke, Senator John Everett.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Mayor Sherman Lee has just about said almost all of it. He is the greatest mayor of any place in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The greatest mayor of the Roanoke City Mayor, the greatest mayor of any city in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I would say the whole country.
Thank you.
He's been a great mayor across the board and a great friend. And I want to say a few things. You know, this past 2 years in the General Assembly, we've done so much. It's been the most remarkable 2 years of progress in Virginia. Let's talk about infrastructure. Medicaid expansion passed because of the Democrats. We finally got that done. And Republicans, very few of them voted for it. When it came to roads, for example, we had the best transportation package in the last 2 years in over 30 some years. We fixed I-81 and also brought rail. We're bringing rail to the New River Valley. And we got rail here in Roanoke in 2017, but it's coming to the New River Valley in the next few years. And Roanoke will have the second train from Amtrak in the next year. 2022, we'll have the second train out of Roanoke to go to Washington. We've made so much progress, more progress, as I say, we've ever made, not just for I-81, but also for other roads as well. And let's go forward and talk about the other things we've done. With regard to clean energy, we've done more on clean energy than we've ever done before. When it comes to paying our teachers, we are paying the teachers more than ever before. We're paying our law enforcement officers more than ever before. And also we reformed the criminal justice system, which is so desperately needed. Progress we've made in the last 2 years, those progress we've made since I've been in the Senate, going back 26 years. And I'm very proud of all the things we've done. But this guy, the Republican nominee, he said Donald Trump is why he's running. You know, it's one of the main reasons why he's running. He's opposing most everything Biden is trying to do, especially with the infrastructure. Without the infrastructure that Biden's trying to do with the jobs plan and other ideas that he puts forward, the United States is going to go backwards, not forward. So I think we need to continue the Democratic agenda, make sure we get the House of Delegates reelected, the Democrats in the House of Delegates, and make sure we remain a Democratic Virginia governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. We've got to make sure that happens. Otherwise, we'll go backwards, not forwards. And it's my pleasure to introduce you one of my great friends who's been a wonderful partner with me in the New River Valley, especially. You probably have seen him on television. Chris Hurst has been a remarkable state delegate. He is smart, he knows how to work together and make things happen. He knows how to go door to door and listen to people. He's been one of the best politicians I've seen because he goes door to door and listens to people. He did it right when he first ran, and he's running again this year. Last 2 years ago, he won re-election, and I'm convinced he's going to win big time this year. So let me introduce you to a really good friend who's an extraordinarily great delegate for the New River Valley, and that's my good friend Chris Hirsch.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming out and listening to us, and it's really important that we try and get this message out, which is that there is a tremendous amount that's at stake for our November elections. When you think about being able to live in a Commonwealth that does not get the kind of headlines that other states around the country are getting for not being welcoming, for being restrictive, what is that ultimately leading to? Well, in my mind, I think the most important thing it's leading to is that business is driving out of some of these backward states all across the country. And here in Virginia, we're the #1 state in the country to do business. And part of that is because we have now decided to invest in things like equity, inclusion, and diversity. And all of those things could be wiped out if Glenn Youngkin and Republicans are able to get back in power here in Virginia. Over the past year and a half, we've been faced with this devastating pandemic that has upended so much of our lives. But throughout this crisis, we've come together, and I think in a responsible way, we have been able to do our jobs in Richmond as not only the state legislature, but also the executive branch, and to make sure that we balance restriction, freedom, the ability to still do commerce and own a business, but also keeping our citizens safe. So I am proud to say that through this entire ordeal, Virginia has had one of the safest records when it comes to protecting its citizens from COVID-19. We passed a bill to provide paid sick time for essential workers during this pandemic. We passed measures to protect Virginians from evictions during this pandemic. And we made Virginia the country's first state with workplace safety rules to protect workers from COVID. And now as vaccines are being distributed, we have to make sure that we all continue to work together to keep a good thing going to ensure a proper recovery. And for us as Democrats, that's ensuring that everyone in our communities has health care and benefits from a strong economy that are our top priorities. You know, I'm proud to be on the Appropriations Committee as one of only a few members of the Southwest Virginia delegation on that very important committee. We get reports all the time from our Secretary of Finance on how well we're doing in Virginia. And the most recent report that came out just last week is that we might see a $500 million surplus in Virginia because our economy is doing well, because we've had sound fiscal policy. We've been conservative when we've needed to, and we've been big and bold when we have to on things like increasing the minimum wage and providing for paid sick time for those essential workers. Now we also made huge investments with our budget surpluses that we've been able to enjoy these past few years, putting $100 million into broadband internet into our VADI program. This was something that when it was started, Republicans nominally put in $1 million. It was a slap in the face to communities and families all over rural Virginia that they would not step up and actually fund the most important infrastructure project of our generations. And what did we do when we got into the majority? We put $100 million worth of money to be able to do that broadband infrastructure work. And I can tell you that the New River Valley is benefiting from those grants already. 3,000 people in Giles County will have broadband internet for the first time by the end of June, and an additional $1.8 million is going to connect more people in Montgomery County. We've been able to take the number of people who don't have reliable broadband internet from about 450,000 from when Governor Northam took office to now less than 250,000. 200,000 people across Virginia are now connected with reliable speeds for the first time because of priorities that we have put in place since we've been in the majority. The problem with Glenn Youngkin is that he may say all of the right things to try and sway independent minds, but he's not going to do any of the things that he says, because he's going to be controlled by Republicans. He's going to be controlled by a fringe that still believes that last election was not fair and support going to our nation's capital and trying to violently overthrow Congress. That's why one of the tenets and hallmarks of his campaign is trying to ensure election integrity. Well, I can tell you that Democrats in 2 years have done a whole heck of a lot more for election integrity than anything Glenn Youngkin might be spouting. We've gone from dead last among states in voter access to now in the top 10. And that's because we have done policies that bring more people to the polls instead of restrict who has that ultimate right to go vote. And I also think it's really important to note that his business record is not necessarily as sterling as it might seem. He didn't decide that he was going to serve the public and leave a great post at the Carlyle Group. He was forced out by the board because he wasn't doing a very good job. In fact, he wasn't even CEO, he was co-CEO. So he's not necessarily a businessman that you might want to be putting all of your stakes into. And I would remember that the last time a lot of people decided that they were going to put their trust into a businessman who was a Republican, that was back in 2016, when a lot of our hopes were dashed by any promise that he might have been able to make. It's important for us to know that despite the American Rescue Plan bringing millions of dollars to Virginia, Glenn Youngkin says that he doesn't believe in it, that he thinks it's absolutely wrong. I mean, tell that to the people that are going to be able to get generational access through broadband internet from the American Rescue Plan, being able to repair water and sewer lines all across the Commonwealth because of the American Rescue Plan. We have it as a House priority to possibly include HVAC systems, and if we can find a use for it, an ability to do it, put new roofs on schools all across Virginia, giving heated and air conditioning to our students, sometimes for the first time ever. That's in the American Rescue Plan that Glenn Youngkin says is absolutely wrong. How is he for rural Virginia? The American Jobs Plan makes an unprecedented investment in infrastructure. That's coming up later on in the summer and into the fall. He and congressional Republicans, the state party, they're all against it. It makes no sense to me. What Democrats have done over the last 2 years is not extreme. We've done what's right, and we've done what the people have asked us to do. For so long, all of the claims and all of the asks, all of the requests in Richmond have been met with the answer no. But over the last 2 years, we've found a way to say yes, despite a once-in-a-century pandemic. We cannot go backward. We can only continue to progress forward. And that means we need to continue to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, starting with our nominee for governor and going down to local offices. If we give this power, this ability back to the other side, we will turn into those states that get embarrassing headlines day after day. And it will erode this business climate we have worked so hard to create and to protect. You cannot vote for Glenn Youngkin this November. You can only make sure that we keep this good progress going. And with that, I'd like